in the past few weeks, and we would not be here. I don't believe Brian Haywood would have run this initiative if it wasn't for some of the girls that are coming on stage who dared to be so brave when adults won't even speak truth on this simple issue. So I'm going to introduce all of them, and we'll wait till the end because I know you're going to want to give them a round of applause. So I'm going to bring to the stage Frances Stout, Annalie Wilson, and Sadie Sullivan. I promise we didn't do that to Frances backstage.
They did.
Although it was probably the co-owner of the Storm. Did the co-owner of the Seattle Storm do that to you?
I'll use that excuse.
Okay, good. So first, I just want you to introduce yourselves briefly to the crowd to let them know how you got involved in this. Frances, you want to start?
Yes, my name is Frances Stout. I go to Tumwater High School in Olympia, Washington. When I was 15 years old, there was an 18-year-old man in my locker room also competing against my girls' basketball team. As a result of this, I said, "You're a man," to him, and because of that, I was investigated by the WIAA in Tumwater School District for harassment and bullying, for misgendering the individual. Since then, I've gone around speaking up at events and fighting to protect girls' sports and women, and calling people out on this lie, and fighting for common sense, and fighting for opportunities for all girls and all women to be able to go into their locker rooms and bathrooms and play in their sports and not have to compete against a man or see them in there. So, yes.
All right, Annalie.
Hi, I'm Annalie Wilson. I first got involved with this whole boys being in girls sports when I was in 8th grade. I'm now going to be a junior in high school. And I do cross country and track, and I had been running the mile for a junior Olympic meet, and I placed second to a biological male, and I decided to speak up about it. And since then, been doing a lot. I just had a WNBA game that I went to and made national headlines, which wasn't my plan, but that's what happened, I guess. So yeah, I've just been trying to protect girls in sports and in their spaces.
We'll talk more about that in a minute. Sadie?
Yeah, so I'm Sadie Sullivan. I am actually a recent graduate from Wenatchee High School. My story began my freshman year and then continued my sophomore and the rest of the years I've been at Wenatchee. When I went into I'm a competitive swimmer, so I'm in the locker room all the time, very exposed a lot. That's the nature of our sport. And I went in there and I found this guy who was actually right next to the other hall next to me in the same locker room. And since then, I've been seeing him around, and more just keep coming. And so my dad and I took this issue up to our principal and the superintendent, and they basically said to me, "Our hands are tied. This isn't really our issue, and we believe in inclusivity and and so they basically just said they weren't really going to do anything about it. It wasn't really up to them. And since then, my dad and I have been fighting this steep uphill battle. So, yeah.
So a lot of the momentum that's happened in the last 2 weeks around this issue really started center court at the Seattle Storm versus Indiana Fever game. We had this wild idea, me, Women Are Real, some other individuals, to have a pro-Sophie Cunningham rally because Sophie Cunningham came out in support of girls' sports. And we sort of thought it would be chill, I guess, and we had bought some front row seats. For the record, I invited all 3 of the girls to sit front row, but Sadie and Frances were out of town, and I don't know if they're now happy about that. But Annalie was sitting center court with a friend with just some nice signs cheering on Sophie. And Annalie, if they haven't heard it, what happened?
Well, me and my good friend were super excited. You know, Caitlin Clark almost stepped on my foot, so we were both freaking out. And Sophie Cunningham was right in front of us. So we were holding our signs that said, "Thank you, Sophie," or "We love Sophie." And this old woman at halftime comes up to us, And at first I thought she was going to be nice. And she's like, God loves everyone, or Jesus loves everyone, da da da. And I'm like, yeah, like I know. And then she was like, no, Jesus loves everyone. And then she continued to say that we were effing insane and, you know, all this other stuff. And then she just, you know, kind of like walked away with her little cane. And I was just sitting there, and my friend was in shock, and I started crying. And then,
Yeah.
crazy.
I came over there ready to throw some fisticuffs, and then we found out it was the co-owner of the Seattle Storm, Celeste Keaton, who, as a result of her treatment of Annalie, was suspended for 5 games, had to pay a fine. And as much as I hate that that happened to Annalie and that I didn't see it in the moment because I would have knocked that woman on her ass, excuse my language, I would have been, I'm sorry, violence is never the answer until it is. And this has started a movement across the country that's been growing. Democrats for an Informed Approach to Gender. That's been a wonderful bipartisan movement to go to all these WNBA games and just start speaking truth. That led to 2 former NBA players coming out and saying they're going to be in the draft. I'm curious for Frances and Sadie, and I laugh about this, but it's sick, right? What are the worst things that have been said to you because of your public support for this?
I will say I've had people threatening to show up at my house. I've had people tell me that they hope that I choke and die on a certain part of the man that I called a man, of his body. I've had people tell me that now a lot of them and their friends know where I live and that they'll see me soon, and with a lot of death threats. I've had people, I think a lot of people like to use my religion against me because they say that what I'm doing is not loving and not honoring God, but this is the truth. And so this is what all people should be standing up for, and it's common sense. But I've had pretty much the worst of the worst been said to me, but I mean, it's not stopping me now, and it's not going to stop me. And I think these people, if you knew, and I've had people yelling at me in the hallways of my school. I've had people tell me they hope I go and die, and I hope anything you can imagine, it's been said to me. So,
Outrageous.
pretty awful.
Sadie?
Yeah, you know, I've lost a lot of friends close to me at my time in Wenatchee High School throughout the years, especially the more I've become outspoken about this. But, you know, I really just took it as a learning lesson, and I just kind of have the mindset of, you know, you really find out who your real friends are, who your real family is, and the people that have stuck by me this whole time. I am forever grateful and very blessed for them. So I just take the negative and try to turn it into the positive.
This gets a little personal, but, you know, the no hate in Washington State crowd, the most hateful bigots on the planet, by the way, they're pushing this totally false narrative that if this passes, female athletes will be subject to invasive genital exams to sort of prove that they're not a boy. I'm assuming you guys have all had physicals, right? Would you consider that characterization accurate? Is it an invasive genital exam? Did you have to do it in the locker room? Or what do you say to that narrative they're pushing? Frances?
I will say that, I mean, I've played varsity basketball, softball, track, so I have been around in sports at my high school and all throughout, but never once have I had to go and show anyone my genitals just to prove that I'm a girl. My doctor knew that I was a girl from when I was born. I mean, that is the truth. And when my mom filled out the paperwork, my doctor knew I was a girl. I've never had to go into that room and pull my pants down to show that I should be playing in a women's category. And so I feel like the people, they try and spread that lie a lot, and to kind of scare people into saying, oh, this is invasive for girls and this is not how it should be. But that is a lie. I've never had that happen. I've never had to do that. And what they are saying is a lie, and that has not happened to me. It's not happened to my teammates, my sisters, my friends. So it is a complete lie.
Annalie, what do you make of, you know, they're not really trying to win this based on the argument that, oh yeah, men should play against women. You don't see them messaging that way. They're using but this will be invasive genital exams. I mean, what do you make of kind of the fear arguments that they're using to try to keep males in sports with you?
Well, I mean, again, what Francis said, it's all just a lie. I mean, none of that's true. None of us are going to have invasive genital exams. It's just your yearly physical, and they know if you're a girl or boy. And, I mean, they're just using, again, this fear to try and drive people against what we're trying to fight for. I mean, when people are scared, they're not always thinking clearly. So, I mean, I guess what they're doing is kind of working in some ways, but it's not true at all.
Sadie, what would you say to the argument that, oh, this doesn't happen very often, and trans athletes, biological boys who identify as girls are going to be left out, and their feelings are going to be hurt, or they'll be suicidal? I mean, just some of the things that, what do you say to that this is going to leave them out of the sport that they identify with?
Yeah, honestly, my first thing that comes to mind is this is America, and we don't have to show people, take our clothes off at a yearly physical for sports, which I just had done yesterday. You don't have to do that to prove what gender you are. You're assigned that the moment you're conceived and when you are born, and it sticks with you for the rest of your life. And I think this whole ideology of where there's blurred lines and there's exceptions, I think it's a load of BS, and we live in very, very crazy times. And like Annalie was saying, when people are scared and fearful, they know they're losing, they scramble and they make up stupid stuff like that. So I honestly think it's like a sign we're winning if they are trying to pull stuff saying that we have to do really ridiculous things to prove who we are.
I kind of want to close with your message to the state's elected leaders who haven't come out very forcefully on this issue. On both sides of the aisle, if there are people who are trying to win difficult races and they don't want to be here today, or they don't want to say anything publicly, I hear from progressive state lawmakers who have told me privately that they don't support boys and girls sports, but they could never say it publicly. So I guess, what would your message be to adults who still are not willing to speak up on this issue while you teenagers have put yourselves out there so far? Francis?
I would say it's hard to speak up, but we need you. We need you to speak up for the girls who are too afraid to do it themselves, and have the balls to do it. I mean, you're running for a position such as that. You should be able to say what you believe in and know that people will support you. And even if they don't, speak up for it anyways. I mean, if we're doing it as young teenage girls, you should be able to stand up for what you believe in as well. Not everyone's going to agree, but majority of people do agree. They're just a lot more respectful about it. I feel like a lot of people who disagree, they're loud, they're violent, they're very obnoxious about it. So we need people to speak up in a respectful way and have the courage to do so, because nothing is going to happen if you are too scared to say what you believe. We need people to know that if you in that position can speak up, then they can too.
Annalie, what would you say to people who haven't found the courage yet?
To find it, because again, I mean, we need you. And I mean, I'm only 16, I'll be 17 soon, and Francis is, same age almost, and she's a little older, but again, we're like teenage girls, and I feel like that if we can find that courage, I mean, you should be able to as well. And I'm not saying that it's easy. I mean, I've gotten better at public speaking. I mean, right now, I couldn't imagine myself like 3 years ago doing this at all, but here I am today doing it and, making national headlines or whatever. So I would just say, again, we need you and we need your support, and I get that it's kind of scary and people will judge you, but those people don't matter. So find the courage.
And I don't want to embarrass you, but the first time I met Annalie and she told her story, she was 15, and it was like a crowd of 500 adults. And you were, you guys grow up so fast. And when I think back to that moment, you were just this young girl and just really shaking and telling this horrible story. And that was the second that, when you do this job in news, you do a lot of interviews with people, on the worst days of their lives or whatever it is, and some you can move on and some you just can't. And when I'm not an athlete, but when I started interviewing you guys and meeting you guys, I'm like, I can't move on. I could not move on from that issue, because what you've been doing is so powerful and it's been so inspiring to me. And I just want to see it with you across the finish line. And so I'm getting goosebumps because you guys have been so awesome. Sadie, bring us home. What would you say to people who have not found their courage to call this what it is?
Yeah, just find the courage. I mean, my perspective has changed so much. You know, I'm going to college and I'm not a teenager anymore, and I'm getting older, and I look at people like my younger sister who's still on my swim team, and I look at all of her and her friends and the girls younger than me that look up to me hugely, and I look at what's going on in the world, and it makes me absolutely sick. And I'm fighting for myself, but I'm mostly fighting for these little girls younger than me, and for generations to come, because it just makes me sick and it makes me scared, and it's BS. So
I honestly love you girls. I do, and I just like, I don't know, I would hurt people for you. Am I violent? What's going on? It just gives me so much rage. Before we let you go, just a couple of things I want to do while you're up here, because your families have been such integral parts of being your support systems during all this. So if it's okay, could the families stand up and wave, please? Come on. Yes, brothers too. Brothers too. You should have seen the look on Elizabeth Wilson's face when I told her that it was the co-owner of the Seattle Storm who yelled at her daughter until she cried. Talk about somebody who was ready to throw fisticuffs. Elizabeth was, and she's like 5 foot tall. It was great. The other thing I just want to say, it is not my job to raise money for Let's Go Washington. They can do that. And I didn't ask permission to say this, but you know, the income tax fight, I think, is sucking up a lot of the air, and I get it. It's so important. But to me, what these girls have done has a value. And I don't know about you, but I'm going to be brokenhearted if we can't get this initiative across the finish line for them. And it is going to cost money. So because of these girls' bravery, if you could find it to give $100 to the Girls Sports Initiative for that fight, so we can counter some of this messaging and these lies, like, do it tonight. Do it for these girls, because they have been so brave, and we have to get this across the finish line for them. So Sadie, Annalie, Francis, thank you so much.
Thank you.